There was a time when a small island nation ruled over nearly a quarter of the world. From North America to India, from Africa to Australia, the British flag flew across continents. But how did Britain, once a collection of rival kingdoms, become the largest empire in history? The story begins with geography. Britain is an island. Surrounded by water, it was protected from many invasions that troubled mainland Europe. This natural defense allowed stability to grow. By the 16th century, England had developed a powerful navy. Under rulers like Elizabeth I, the country invested heavily in ships and sea power. In 1588, the defeat of the Spanish Armada marked a turning point. Spain had been the dominant global power, but after this victory, England's confidence at sea grew rapidly. Sea power meant opportunity. British explorers began sailing across the Atlantic. Colonies were established in North America and the Caribbean. Trade routes expanded. But trade soon became something much larger. In 1600, the East India Company was formed. What began as a trading company would eventually control vast territories in India. This was the beginning of corporate empire building. Then came the Industrial Revolution. In the late 18th century, Britain became the world's first industrial nation. Steam engines, factories, railways, production increased at an unprecedented scale. Industrial power required raw materials: cotton, tea, spices, minerals. These resources came from overseas colonies. At the same time, Britain needed markets to sell its manufactured goods. Empire provided both. The Royal Navy became the strongest in the world. It protected trade routes and ensured British dominance at sea. By the 19th century, the British Empire stretched across every inhabited continent. India became known as the jewel in the crown. Large parts of Africa were colonized. Australia and Canada developed as settler colonies. The phrase emerged, "The sun never sets on the British Empire," because somewhere in the world, it was always daytime in British territory. But empire was not built peacefully. Colonization often meant conflict. Local populations resisted foreign control. There were wars, rebellions, and uprisings. One major turning point was the Indian Rebellion of 1857. After the uprising, control of India passed directly from the East India Company to the British Crown. Empire became more centralized. During the 19th century, Britain dominated global trade, finance, and industry. London became the financial capital of the world. The Royal Navy controlled the seas. British culture, language, and legal systems spread worldwide. However, empire also came at a cost. Economic exploitation, cultural suppression, and inequality were realities in many colonies. By the early 20th century, cracks began to appear. Two devastating global conflicts would change everything. During World War I and later World War II, Britain spent enormous resources defending itself and its empire. The wars drained the economy. Colonies that had contributed soldiers and resources began demanding independence. After 1945, the age of empire began to end. India gained independence in 1947. Many African nations followed in the 1950s and 1960s. Gradually, the empire dissolved, but something else remained. Instead of direct control, Britain formed the Commonwealth, a voluntary association of independent nations. The empire had ended, but the global influence remained. English became one of the world's most widely spoken languages. British political systems influenced democracies worldwide. Legal traditions, education systems, and cultural ties continued. So how did Britain become a global empire? Geography gave protection. Naval power gave expansion. Trade created wealth. Industry created dominance. And global conflict reshaped its future. From a small island kingdom to the largest empire in history, Britain's rise was driven by ambition, innovation, and power. And its decline marked the beginning of a new global order. Empires rise, empires fall, but their impact can shape the world for centuries. This is the story of how Britain ruled the world.